This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello and welcome to The Complete Guide to Everything, a podcast about everything. I'm one of your hosts, Tom.
And I'm Tim.
Tim, how are you doing this week?
Tom, I'm doing well. I had an experience today that put me in a good mindset. I think when we're on the other side of things, and by things I mean this unpleasantness.
Are you talking about when we're both dead and ghosts? When we're on the other side and done with this unpleasantness?
No, this unpleasantness was not me referring to life itself.
Oh, okay.
It was me referring to the current state of, lockdown and global pandemic.
You're always trying to trick me into a suicide pact with you. Like if we're waiting for food, and it's like, if it's not done in 5 more minutes, let's kill ourselves.
I think you misunderstand me. When I say things like this situation or this wait, I'm never talking about life itself. I'm talking about. But remember how we used to always get upset, you and I, when you'd go into a coffee shop or something and somebody's acting a fool in there?
Well, yeah. I mean, there are many ways you can act a fool, but do you have something more specific? What do you mean?
Yeah, today I went. There's a coffee shop near my home. I went for a walk this morning. It was a beautiful day.
It had the past 2 days. It's been nice.
It's been lovely. We should talk more about the weather in a minute.
People love hearing it. Let me hear more about last week's weather, boys.
Took a walk, and I was like, hey, you know what I'll do? I'll stop at a coffee shop. It has like a little window that faces people line up on the sidewalk.
Perfect.
There was a lot of dog poop there, and it was disheartening to just stand near piles of feces.
Yeah, because all the snow is melted, and there's a substantial amount of people that think somehow dog poop disappears when it's in the snow.
I think that's part of it, but I also think to some extent it does disappear when it's in the snow.
You're part of the problem, Tim. Thank God you don't have a dog, because that's the kind of mindset that gets our streets poop strewn.
Well, I also think that this particular coffee shop has an annoying clientele, or a clientele where they'll wait on this line with their dogs there and just watch their dog poop and like make sure that nobody saw the dog poop.
Okay.
Like, I'm waiting for my coffee. I'm not here to pick up dog poop. Like that kind of attitude.
When you said the coffee shop had an annoying clientele, I just thought, well, obviously, if you're saying you like going there,
I understand. Yeah. But I was in line, and there was look. I don't know why I say in line. You're supposed to, if you're a real New Yorker, you say online.
Yeah, I was just about to stop you, like in line.
Yeah, I'm trying to, you know how like baseball announcers or sports announcers try to lose whatever regional dialect they have. I feel like I need to do that, but no, we're New York. I should be proud of this.
Yeah, hey, I'm standing online.
I'm gonna get a New York slice.
Yeah,
and you better not. You better fold that slice when you eat it.
Yeah, or else get out of here.
Yeah, that's what they say. And
it's what
I'm
we
standing
say
on the line. Yeah, they meaning
the royal
you and me and all of us. They meaning us.
Yes, of course.
There was a woman. A few people behind me on the line as well, and she was on a phone, a cellular telephone, Tom, a mobile phone, screaming into the phone, but like not angrily, just being like, "Oh, I gotta tell you this. I gotta tell you."
She was excited
and having a personal conversation. But just gossiping. Like, she wasn't overly excited. She was just like, oh, I had to tell you what happened to Mike and, Judith or whatever. And she's screaming like, so a couple weeks ago, Judith lost her phone, so she had to log into to her email on Mike's phone, and then Mike found her email, and like it was a story of, I think, infidelity.
Ooh.
Right? And she's
I mean, those are some of the juiciest stories.
Yeah, it was a juicy story, and she was literally screaming it on the street while we were all online with probably 10 people on this line, which sucks for the neighbors of this coffee shop because it's right next to a residential building.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. There must be people there all day, and everybody was pointedly, I could tell, looking straight ahead, there's no reason this woman should be telling this very personal story that had so many specific details and names, and it was such a weird situation where the way that one of them found out about the infidelity was this whole convoluted technological thing with phones, and then she stopped, and everybody was pointedly I'm not going to look at this woman because that would be weird because she's telling some real personal stuff here.
Everybody in line was thinking, I'll talk about my podcast this week.
And then she abruptly stops and then halves her voice in volume. She said, sorry, everybody here's f***ing eavesdropping on my conversation, so I got to be a little quieter.
Oh, man.
The unmitigated gall.
Wow. And to say that out loud too.
We could all still hear her. We were all sitting, nobody was talking. Everybody was just standing there on a quiet street.
Yeah,
waiting to order
that's
coffee.
what I was gonna say. Especially lately in the morning, there's not the normal hubbub there is. A lot of people were working from home, so New York's a lot quieter than it usually is.
Yeah.
If somebody's having a conversation on the street, you hear them a half block away.
But look, I was eavesdropping, but even if I wasn't trying, I wanted to know what happened.
You had no choice.
Bummed. Yeah, but you don't put that on me, you jerk.
Yeah. What did she order?
She was a couple people. I was a long gone by the time she got.
Oh, so you were in front of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how could you even be eavesdropping if you're looking straight ahead? How could she even know?
Yeah. No, she was making everybody uncomfortable, and then made us the villains in this situation.
Yeah,
and then we didn't even get the end of the story.
You think she goes there a lot? Maybe you can go back.
I'm gonna go back tomorrow and just wait.
Yeah,
brave all that dog crap.
If you're nice about it, you should. You could probably just ask her. She'd probably tell you what's going on. Tell me what happened with Mike and Judith. Do you remember any of the technological? That's all I care about, Tim. I'm very curious about the digital fingerprints that were left behind here.
I think it was that what they were, if not married, at least cohabitating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the woman, it seemed to be a heterosexual relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I think the woman lost her phone. No, the man lost his phone and had to log into his email on the partner's device, and then never logged out. And then the partner found the emails that were incriminating. But I don't know. That's me filling in the... That's my incredibly creative mind coming up with a real entertaining outcome, because I don't know. I don't know what happened there.
Look, I would not encourage anybody to engage in infidelity, but in the day and age where there's is
that a controversial thing to say? Are we gonna get emails that are oh, so now you're telling now people are telling me that you shouldn't be unfaithful if you're in a committed relationship?
Yeah, maybe we'll be canceled over this. No, I'm not saying you should be, made to wear a scarlet A. But if you're going to do that, break up with the person or divorce the person you're with before you start anything new. It's that simple and straightforward. But
your regular Dr. Laura, Tom.
Who's Dr. Laura?
I don't know.
Tim,
she was some lady from the 90s, I think.
Stop repeating things you hear if you don't know what they actually mean.
think she was a bad lady from the 90s.
What the hell does that mean? Like a
radio
villain?
Therapist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like a villain.
Like, I thought you were going to... I
think she said abhorrent things on the radio.
Oh, when you said she was a villain in the 90s, I thought she fought the Ninja Turtles or something like that.
She was Maleficent.
But there's like a million different apps nowadays with, secure messaging and disappearing messages. Email? Haven't you heard the phrase "but her email"?
Yeah, Julian Assange could get a hold of your...
Yeah, what if Julian Assange is at the corner while you're getting a coffee and he says, "Hey, can I borrow your phone for a minute? I need to just make an emergency phone call." And all of a sudden... He's uploaded all of your emails
near your phone.
No, that's why I say I have that embassy.
Yeah, exactly. But so your advice to those who are unfaithful to their partners is set up a situation like your Glenn Greenwald and Edward Snowden talking to each other.
Yeah, that is my advice. Like, if you're gonna do it right. I'm saying don't do it, but like,
I like how this episode exists in the WikiLeaks universe. I guess that's the actual universe that we're in.
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I don't know, just like dumb. I mean, maybe this person wanted to get caught, but.
Oh, now you're really psychoanalyzing.
Well, I'm just saying. Otherwise, they're dumb as a sack of bricks. Dumb to have an affair in the first place, but then especially dumb.
Again, Tom, I don't think you can pass judgment on that these days.
Dumb as a sack of bricks? I can't say that.
No, dumb to have an affair.
Yeah, I can say that. If you have an affair, you're dumb. Don't have an affair. Break off with the person you're with. Sorry if that makes me old-fashioned. Sorry if...
do you think Jeff Bezos is a dumb man, Tom? He's the richest man in the world.
That's true. You know what? Ooh, boy. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. And who knows? Maybe that's what made him the richest man in the world. Maybe he was thinking, oh, boy, if I'm going to have a wife and a mistress, I got to start making a lot more money to support both of their lifestyles.
Yeah, I'm going to have to buy them both hats and shoes.
Yeah, and oh boy, that's going to cost a fortune. Neither of them want the
fellas. We all know that's the number one expense when you're romancing a lady. All the hats you got to buy to woo them.
Yeah, and he was probably like, we have a lot of nice hats on Amazon, and they're like, I don't want an Amazon hat. It's like, oh boy, off to Barney's we go. He's buying her a hat at Barney's.
Does Barney's exist anymore?
Yeah, because I saw, over Christmas, I was on Fifth Avenue with my...
Ooh la la. Oh, I'm sorry.
With
I guess I came to the right place for an answer to this question, Mr. Fifth Avenue.
I was...
and you saw the Barney's, and it was open.
No, I'm trying to think of what happened. I saw Barney's.
You know what? I'm sorry I asked.
No, I saw Barney's, and I made some of our friends were there, and I made a joke about the Flintstones, and nobody got it. I was like, maybe I'll go in there.
Some of our friends?
No, not your friends. My girlfriend's friends.
Oh, you didn't mention that your girlfriend was there.
Yeah, and I was like, maybe I'll go in there, buy one of those cars without a floor in it. And they were like, I don't think they sell cars.
That's Tom.
No, it was something funnier.
You prefaced that it was a joke about the Flintstones, and then you said the joke, and I still didn't get it for a second without your poor suffering girlfriend.
I swear there was like...
You know what my advice for her? Have an affair.
Well, Tim, I think first off, we should apologize to any scientists who have downloaded this episode expecting to, well, you know what? Give us another 45 minutes. You may learn a thing or two.
What's today's topic, Tom?
Today's topic is I don't know.
That's not a good start. If you thought the first 15 minutes were bad, I know.
It's like missions to Mars or something. You'll see it. Look at Tim. You want to know what the topic is? Take a look at the title in your podcast player.
Wow. It's like that part in Spaceballs where they fast forward the VHS copy of the movie to see what happens next.
Yeah. It was going to be just Mars, but it turned out we did an episode about Mars 6 years ago, and then you yelled at me that it was 5 years ago, even when I gave you the date, because you don't know how dates work. Yeah, I did the math wrong. Yeah, and you were off by a whole year, and you're like, you mean 5 years ago? Trying to gaslight me.
Tom, I bet you wish everybody thought everything was a year earlier once they find out how old you are. You're old.
I see. I was like, a year earlier, I don't want to go through the last year again.
You know what? I'd like another shot at it. If a genie came to me and was like, you could go back to March 2020 right now. I'd be like, yeah. And then, Tom, we wouldn't even be having this conversation because I'd be a muscle man and I'd be on the male modeling circuit right now.
Well, the male modeling circuit, Tim, I think is also suffering the effects of the pandemic.
Yeah, but not like the top 5% of male models, and that's where I would be.
Do you think like the top 5% of male models work like private parties?
Tom, it was New York Fashion Week here in New York a couple weeks ago.
You would have easy access to the vaccine as a top male model?
Yeah, as a hunk. They gave the hunks the first shot at the jabs.
Anyway, we're not talking about hunks. We're not talking about Fashion Week and all this other nonsense, Tim. We're talking about Mars because there was just a big old mission to Mars just landed on Mars. The
Perseverance.
Yeah. Well, that's the name of the rover. The name of the mission is Mars 2020, like the cool restaurant.
Yeah.
No, what was it? 2121?
Yeah, I mean, they should have made it 2021 because, yeah, they blasted that thing off in 2020.
Right.
But all the fun, cool stuff is happening now.
Right. Yeah. Barely anybody paid attention when the rocket went off. Some people do because it's always cool to see a rocket go off, but like no more than probably any other rocket.
Do you think they called it Mars 2020 just because they wanted to have when they for the launch event they wanted it covered by Barbara Walters and Hugh Downs?
They were hoping they'd come out of retirement. Well, Hugh Downs is dead.
Yeah, well, NASA. There's a lot they could get the
hologram technology.
They just coax Barbara Walters out of retirement to come. And be like, whoa, would you look at that?
Yeah, Mars 2020. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when car companies announce new cars, it's always like, they do the next, if they announce it in 2020, it's the 2021 model.
Yeah.
Dumb. That's the first thing I'm going to say to all the scientists at NASA behind this. Start off on a dumb foot, everybody.
For a bunch of smart guys, you really pulled the boner on this one.
Tim, you famously think all astronauts are cowards. How do you feel about scientists that work at NASA?
I'll tell you something, Tom.
Do you think they're even bigger cowards because they won't go on the spaceship?
This is a false narrative that you've been pushing for years right now, and I just like to clear
I have a shirt that says otherwise.
I did not want to make
available at tcgt.com/merch.
I'm so against these shirts. I'm against the notion that anybody would call an astronaut a coward. I do think they, for the most part, sit in a chair. Well, other people, but I think you have to be very brave to sit in that chair, and I think you have to be prepared to do a bunch of stuff in case things go wrong.
Right, including dying. Exactly. Yeah, but what do you think about the scientists who work at NASA?
I think they're a bunch of heroes. I think everybody's a hero. I think everybody.
If you say everybody's a hero, Tim, then nobody's a hero.
No, everybody at NASA is a hero.
Not everybody? Oh, so only the people that work at NASA are heroes now. The troops aren't?
There's... Not everybody on Earth is a hero. But people, show heroism in different ways, Tom. And I know that you think maybe, I don't know, being a single mother isn't heroic, Tom, but I happen to think it is.
What if that single mother decided she wanted to go to space and leave her baby behind?
And then she's double a hero. She's a single mom.
and
she works for NASA. Yeah.
So anyway, this thing landed on Mars. What I was surprised about was, there was a big, live stream when the landing happened. But like when the landing happened, you didn't really see much. But then like a day or two later, the rover got around to sending the video. And if you watch this landing video,
yeah,
it's nuts because it's like regular video. Finally, they put a decent camera on one of these things.
You know what they put on it, Tom?
What?
A super cam.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's what the camera is.
That sounds like the kind of camera they would have at like a football stadium, like the Kiss Cam. Like, well, let's see who's on the WFMW Super Cam today.
Tom, Supercam's laser, guess what? The Supercam has a laser.
No way.
Is uniquely capable of remotely clearing away surface dust, giving all of its instruments a clear view of the targets. It clears away dust with lasers, Tom.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the trouble with sending something to Mars is you got to think of all that stuff. You got to think, hey, how do we get the dust off this? We can't just, send a guy with a butler with a little duster. You know
what's like, this is all very cool and the pinnacle of like human scientific achievement, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then they're talking about the super cam, which again, I think they could have had a little bit more of an imaginative name. I think you're right that it is like something Jerry Jones would come up for
yeah. We'll name it the super cam.
Yeah. But then and it's really cool. It's like from more than 20 feet away, Supercam can fire a laser to study rock targets smaller than a pencil point.
Wow.
It looks at different rock, and then you read all these facts about it, and it all comes down to like it takes pictures of rocks.
Yeah,
and like those rocks are really far away, and that's like a cool achievement.
Right.
And I think everybody is a little bit secretly like, yeah, but like, if nothing exciting, if it doesn't find something like super unexpected, will we care about this in 3 weeks?
Well, I think that was my thoughts about like when this happened, because or whenever this happens, because they always have, these rovers and stuff are always full of different instruments. And they're always like, wow, we got these crazy readings and this suggests possibly this is possible, blah, blah, blah. And then they would be like, and look at this picture we got. And it would look like something from the Game Boy camera. It would be this like a black and white photograph that looked like somebody put it through the Xerox machine 20 times. And they're like, this is what Mars looks like. And, if I was always like, put a fucking GoPro on there. What would it hurt? let's see what. And this was the first time that they actually had. The big problem.
Shaun White approved of the Supercam.
Oh, nice.
I assume. I don't know. He uses a GoPro, right?
This was the first time that they had a camera that could send video, record and send video, because, that's a huge technical issue, because they got to send video to the satellite going around Mars, and then that's got to send it to Earth. And that's anywhere from, I think it said like 3 to 22 minutes away, at light speed. And I think I was going to say on average 11 minutes, which is about what the average is between those two times. But,
yeah, you know what? You're not going to go viral unless you have video, so they were smart to do that.
Well, very slow transmission rates, although this one had much, much better than previous ones.
It's like my dial-up modem.
Yep, it is just like your dial-up modem. But I don't know. I get it with the past ones because I never understood, like, all right, it takes a long time, but like, can't you have this thing take like 10 seconds of video? And if it takes 6 months to upload, it takes 6 months to upload. That's fine. But I guess, the scientists are like, well, no, but there's other data that we'd rather have that's more important. That's more interesting to us, but not more interesting to us, to me and you. I just want to see, that Mars video. I want to see that crazy landing.
I mean, I want to see Martians.
Of course you. Well, I don't know if you really want to see Martians.
I think what these scientists rightfully understand is that, like, as good as the video is gonna be, it's still just gonna be rocks and stuff. Like, and they can explain, and I can intellectually understand why the specific things that they find out about these rocks are helpful to human knowledge. But it's never going to be exciting to me to look at. Yeah,
and everything's always like, I don't know, still like this, they're looking for, we'll get into it later. They're looking for evidence of past life. But I did think it was
Tom, what are you saving this for? You can
Well, because I want to be
historically
organized.
we don't have a great track record of, we'll get to that later.
Well, because I have this like somewhat organized, Tim, and if I skip around, then I'm going to forget
first time
things.
for everything, huh? Jesus Christ.
Hey, first time for anything.
You know what? I just took off my sweatshirt and I smell terrible. This revealed to me. I took off my sweatshirt. I was like, "Whoa, what stinks? It's me."
That happened to me the other day. I took off a little jacket I had on or something. Not little. It was a full-size jacket. But one of those around the house jackets, a house jacket, perhaps. And fucking stunk. And I was like, I put deodorant and everything on. Have things changed? Do we stink now? Are we more aware that we stink all the time?
We're not doing well, Tom. And here we are. Is the two of us here talking shit about NASA
telling these scientists what they should be doing. Meanwhile, me and you can't get to the bottom of why we smell.
All right, Tom, let's quit messing around here. Mars, the Perseverance, the mission to Mars, all of it. Give it to me.
The video, what I thought was really cool is because they had this thing called the sky crane, which is what lowered. Because a big problem with Mars is that there's 1% of the atmosphere of Earth and 38% of the gravity. So it's real hard to send something there and not have it just, barrel into the planet and smash into a million pieces. So they have to use thrusters and stuff. And in this case, they use a parachute first, like they do when, a capsule's returning to Earth.
Wait, why wouldn't that be enough? Why would it, if there's less gravity, why would it make a harder fall?
Oh, yeah, I guess less gravity wouldn't. It's really just about the air pressure. Less gravity, I would assume, helps. But yeah, the lack of air pressure, just like nothing really slows anything down on its own. So even launching the parachute, that helped a little bit, but then they need jet thrusters. But they had, this big ass thing thrusting jets while it lowered, a car-sized rover down to the surface nice and smoothly. And for any Martians watching, that must have looked crazy. They must be like, what the hell is this shit? Now they're sending...
what are you guys doing?
Sky cranes?
What's the matter, you?
No, they're Italian stereotypes.
No, they're New Yorkers.
Oh, okay. But
Thrusters, forget about it. Give me a slice.
That's not the most exciting thing about it, at least to me, is that they're going to be launching like a helicopter in a month.
Yeah.
You know about this?
Mm-hmm. I know about the helicopter.
And that's also you
know what the thing is?
What?
You know what it's called? It's called Ingenuity.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what the like it's just called Mars helicopter.
Yeah. Well, what would you call it?
Yeah, I don't know. A 17-year-old high school student named it Ingenuity, though.
Okay. Good.
I misread it originally, and I thought a 17-year-old high schooler came up with the design for it. And it's like, wow, that is an impressive team.
Yeah, that's something else. Well, it's weird because the helicopter, they say they don't know if it's going to work or not. It's like, well, I would hope you think it's going to work, or else why'd you send it there?
They describe it as a high-risk, high-reward experiment.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's not like they only sent that. I feel like they're like, I think it's cool that they're like, all right, we built this thing like a brick shithouse, the rover, and like we know this is gonna do great. It's got a super cam on it, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
And then like, let's put this crazy thing on it that we hope works, and if it does, it'll be nuts. But if it doesn't, we'll be like, we still got the.
We don't have to write off
footage.
The whole mission.
Yeah. We won't look like assholes.
Yeah. Well, so along those lines...
what if the super helicopter... Remember when Paul McKenna bought that helicopter that you could attach a video camera to in like 1999, and he immediately flew it into a tree? And
and it costs like hundreds of dollars, maybe even $1,000. Yeah.
What if the Ingenuity is going to be...
Well, hopefully they're going to check for trees before they launch that helicopter.
Yeah.
Well, so along those lines, the rover cost $2.2 billion to make, and the helicopter a relatively paltry $80 million to make.
Oh, wow.
But the helicopter, it sounds like, only has like one or two cameras on it, and that's it. There's no other sensors or anything. It's literally just... We think if we get, two rotors going fast enough, even though it's only 1% atmosphere, we'll be able to achieve lift. But we're not sure enough that we're going to like put some other sensors on there to like do anything with that.
So they're just like looking to do cool stuff.
Yeah, because I think it can only fly for like 90 seconds on the the battery pack that it's got or whatever. But if it does work, then they can start working on they can pour more money into that.
It's small, Tom.
Yeah, it's like the size of a drone, right?
Yeah, it's like 0.4. Scientists, you don't have to do this all the time. It's 0.446 feet by 0.64 feet.
Put some inches in there.
Yeah, it's like 6 inches.
Yeah. Oh, so that's like a small drone even.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the blades are pretty big, at least relative to the size of the...
Well, let me get out my goddamn calculator. Yeah, the blades are 4 feet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty big compared to it. If you had like a little pocket drone and then you unfurled the wings and they were the rotors and they were 4 feet, be like, well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's funny. It's 4 feet and then 5.5 inches by. Hold on, I'm converting because the scientists won't.
Wow. Tim, maybe you'll get a job at NASA
by 7.7 inches.
Wow. Expert conversions.
Thank you.
So pretty small. What would you say that's about the size of? Like a DVD case?
Perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's about the size of a DVD case.
Maybe they made it out of old DVD cases.
Maybe they're lying to us. Somebody just sent a DVD case that they spray painted silver and pocketed $80 million.
Do you think it's Matt Damon, who's stranded up there, is like, send me up I don't know, Van Wilder DVD.
You don't think he'd want one of his own movies?
No, he knows how those end.
Well, he knows how Van Wilder ends.
Do you know how Van Wilder ends?
No, but I don't work in Hollywood, Tim. He works in Hollywood.
I don't work for NASA.
Even if he hasn't seen Van Wilder, he's heard through the Hollywood grapevines how Van Wilder ends. So the point of this sending this wacky thing is to try and find evidence of not current life, which would make more sense. Let's find out if that exists first. But
I feel like they're like, oh yeah, we're looking for past life.
Wink, wink,
wink.
Yeah, and then they tell the scientists, hey, when you drill, don't drill too deep. Don't puncture the habitats that they're living in underground.
Now, the key objectives, right, is to explore the landing site, a geologically diverse landing site. I get that. It landed with lasers.
It landed in what used to be a lake. Right.
So they say. Assess ancient habitability and seek signs of ancient life. I guess this makes sense, particularly in special rocks known to preserve signs of life over time. All of this information, Tom, is coming straight from NASA themselves.
Wow. You talked to them.
I got them on the phone earlier, and I learned shorthand. You ever see somebody write in shorthand?
I don't think... Oh, yeah. Fascinating. A long, long time ago.
Yeah, I saw an old, somebody who's been in the newspaper game for
that's what I saw.
Decades, and I saw anyway, whatever.
They were in it so long they had a little piece of paper that said press in their hat.
Yeah. That's all you needed at the time. You didn't need
Well, back then nobody had a printer, so it's they got that somehow.
And then it's also going to gather rock and soil samples that could be returned to Earth by a future NASA mission. That seems like a little bit of bullshit. What is it going to put things in a jar and be like, all right, now take this jar when you come here? If they have a way to get there to pick stuff up, can't they just put things in a jar at that time? Yeah. It just seems like they were trying to add to the bullet point list. Well, this rover's not coming back, but let's put a bunch of dirt in jars so other people can bring it back some other time.
So here's the crazy thing about that. Yeah, it's going to collect samples, but then I looked into it. The current timeline is in 2026. They would launch, so 5 years from now, they would launch something to go get it. That would enter Mars orbit, 6 months later or whatever. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't send it down to Mars until 2029, and then it wouldn't come back to Earth till 2031. So 10 years from now.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. So the reason they're packaging it up with the Perseverance rover is because it's never the ones that are the guy that's going to go get it is never actually going to land and get it.
It's not going to be a guy.
No, I mean, I'm saying another rover is a guy. And it might be a guy, Tom. You don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's kind of, when I was reading this, I was like, really? In 10 years, we're not going to have I feel like there are timetables out there that are semi-realistic of having a mission to Mars in the next 10 years. Yeah. Not just getting a jar of rocks back.
Yeah, they should suck it up with a tractor beam.
Yeah. I
should work for NASA.
Also, when I was a kid and you learn about all the planets and stuff, I had assumed we had sent probes to all the planets and they had all come back with shit, or else how else would we have known anything about it? And apparently that's not the case from what I'm finding out. No,
you were a dumb kid.
Yeah, well,
I think all kids are dumb when it comes to space.
Well, they tell you they want to tell you all the cool things about space, understandably, and then that leads you to believe that we're further along with this than we actually are. So I guess it makes sense to have this thing.
I guess fake it till you make it, huh? Tell kids a bunch of, which is, a bunch of far-fetched tales.
Well, and it's underreported, but a lot of NASA funding comes from dumb children. They solicit money from kids, and that's how they build all this shit. I guess it makes sense if this thing collects the rocks and then, I don't know, has another little guy, a little robot that, scoots it away. Then they can build, a retrieval thing that doesn't need to get any samples. Like, so it can be lighter, it can be cheaper. All it has to do is pick up this jar. Presumably it's a mason jar and bring it back up.
Yeah. The toughest thing was figuring out the mechanism to screw the top on.
Right. That's why they're going to give it another. Because if it catches
the wrong way,
then forget it.
It won't come on.
All
cleanly.
The rocks are going to come out on the way back to Earth, and then we're right back where we started. But this thing has a lot of they call it an onboard laboratory. And it's like, unless there are guys in white coats walking around inside this thing, I don't know if it's a laboratory. It's just instruments, but a lot of onboard instruments that they think, might be able to find signs of past life before then. And I was always kind of like, because they found not conclusive evidence, but they found suggestive evidence in the past of, previous life on Mars, like microbial life. And I always thought that was like, whatever. And I never really thought about how there's like a possibility that if life existed on Mars and it didn't come from Earth and our life didn't come from Mars, because that's, they've also said that that's possible, that like Mars had life, an asteroid hit it, brought some of that life to Earth, and that's what seeded Earth, billions of years ago. And to not even get into all the alien and ancient alien possibilities. But I didn't really think about how, if that's not the case, if life on Mars and Earth are completely separate, that it might be like really nuts. That like if life developed completely separately, maybe it's not DNA based, maybe it's completely different, which would be
goo based. Maybe
it might be goo based.
Yeah,
which would be. Which would be...
We'd be like, ew, let's not go there anymore.
Yeah, send it back.
Bezos and Musk will be like, no, thank you.
No way. They'll be like, goo, we got to go tomorrow.
Yeah, they're a couple of goo freaks, those guys. I've heard that. I've read that about them.
Well, be careful what you say, Tim. People in the goo community, they might come after you. Well, I was reading recently about like... we're starting to find more interstellar objects, which normally, in the past we didn't know how to look for them, or didn't know where to look, or didn't have the tools to look for them. And those, they want to eventually try and get a probe to get one of these, like an asteroid from God knows where, from outside of our solar system, maybe even outside of our galaxy, cruising through. And if they could get a probe up to one of those things, get a sample, bring it back, that might be really crazy to see what's going on in other galaxies. There might be completely different elements and all kinds of nutty stuff.
Wait, what are you talking about? You lost me.
Well, Tim, sometimes I forget I'm not talking to a fellow scientist. And
the rover weighs over a ton, Tom.
Yeah, it's like the size of a car.
Yeah.
Do you know what kind of computer they got up on this thing, Tim?
MacBook Air. Well, no, I just said it's over a ton. MacBook Pro? No,
Tim. Although you're not far off with the Mac thing. It's running Linux, but it is a PowerPC G3. Do you even remember those?
Why couldn't they send a newer model?
That's what I'm saying. Tim, it was a PowerPC G3, which I think were discontinued 20 years ago, with 128 megabytes of RAM and 4 gigabytes of storage.
Like, I understand that they have to, like, build it so it doesn't break or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, they can get smaller storage that's larger and then, like, insulate that, right? Come on, these NASA guys.
Well, I know
a bunch of jokers.
I know the thing is always they want to go with older stuff because if things have been produced for like a really long time, then they have a very good idea of what its, faults are, what it's actually capable of surviving and what tests and stuff. But along the lines of sending up a helicopter just to see if it works, I don't know, can't you plug an iPhone into this thing and be like, if the iPhone works, that'll be fucking awesome. We'll be able to.
The same way that they put that helicopter on there.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
You weren't listening.
I wasn't listening. I was reading about the Power Macintosh G3.
Great. What have you learned?
I was just looking at the pictures actually on the the Wikipedia page. What if they go up there and then they find a 3.5 inch floppy disk, sloppy disk?
That's true. And they're like, oh shit. How are we going to read this thing?
You can't put that in an iPhone, can you, Tom?
And that's very true, Tim. I didn't consider that possibility. But like,
knowing them, they'd probably put an iPhone 3G on that.
Even that would be so much better than this thing.
That screen sucked. It felt weird.
All right. Well, they probably wouldn't use the touch screen, I don't think.
Well, it's good because that touch screen sucked.
But along the
I'm sorry for not listening to you, but you were talking a lot.
Along the lines of the helicopter, just send up something newer. But also,
I just said that.
But also, I don't understand how it doesn't outweigh, like, a Power PC G3 requires like a huge amount of energy to run.
I can tell by the size of it from all these pictures I was looking at.
Yeah, I mean, those old computers had huge power supplies. They required a lot of power. That's one of the huge advancements we've made. Besides speed, is also requiring less power. That's what allows you to have a phone in your pocket that doesn't need to be plugged into the wall.
Right.
So I don't understand. That just seems a little like, I feel like I remember like a while ago, there was something, maybe it was like a satellite, and they used the same chip that was in like, I don't know, a PlayStation or PlayStation 2 for the same reason, where they were like, look, this is a chip that has been made literally 100 million times. So we know what the defects would be, so we can check it. Because it also makes sense if you spend $2.2 million sending this thing, it's like, faulty chip. Oh well, nothing works. That's gonna suck. But I feel like there's got to be some. Come on, a 10-year-old chip. Surely you know enough about a 10-year-old chip that he can send that.
Maybe they don't. Tom,
or like I said, send a new thing, and if it breaks, it breaks. Then go back to the old one.
Give me a date that you believe the Power Macintosh G3 was discontinued. If you hit it within 6 months, I'll give you $5,000.
The power, so the tower?
Power Macintosh G3.
Power Macintosh G3.
It's for $5,000.
I'm going to say January 1st, 2004.
August 31st, 1999. You owe me $5,000.
I might dispute that. I think they still had some in the back that they were still selling.
Yeah, but they stopped manufacturing, probably.
but they didn't stop selling them. Technically, they're still selling them today if you go to ebay.com.
So nothing's been discontinued. No product has been discontinued.
Nope. As far as I'm concerned.
Tom, do you know when it was released?
I'm going to guess early 90s.
November 10th, 1997. This thing was on sale for like a year and a half.
Yeah, I think you've got you've got like one model or something.
Wikipedia.com.
You're looking at the wrong shit, like you always are.
Power Macintosh G3. I'm looking at the wrong shit like I'm always am. What does that even mean? What other wrong things have I looked at? Yeah, that's what I thought. You doofus.
Did you know that this Perseverance powered by nuclear energy?
Wow. It is safe.
The hippies are going to go nuts over this, the Martian hippies. Well, it makes a lot more sense because they can just make a little power pack that runs off nuclear energy and can just run very long for. I mean, maybe that's how they were like, we got a nuke inside this thing. Let's put a Power Mac G3 in there. That can sustain those kinds of power draws. Whereas, like the previous mission, they use the Curiosity was solar powered. So was, very much at the whims of, they have insane dust storms on Mars that last for like months sometimes.
Yeah, and we see what happens when solar power is
exactly.
on, right?
I think this thing might have solar panels as well, but it's mostly running
just for
on
show, like when Jimmy Carter put him on the White House.
Did he?
Yeah, and day one, Ronald Reagan took him down.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, in the 70s, there's no way those solar panels were doing anything in the White House.
Yeah, but also, like, they were up there already. Just leave them.
Yeah, they probably, 70 solar panels. I can't imagine what kind of, crazy maintenance those things required. And
also, Jimmy Carter's son smoked weed with Willie Nelson.
Whoa.
On the roof of the White House.
Whoa.
Yeah, cool, right?
That's pretty. Who brought the weed?
Who do you think? Willie Nelson, the guy that always has weed.
Yeah, I guess Secret Service didn't check him on the way in. Pretty ballsy.
Back in the day, I think you could just walk into the White House.
That's true.
And they'd be like, stay behind this velvet rope. And they'd be like, oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a weird thing of 40 plus years ago. Like that amount of weed could have landed you in jail for decades. But also getting into the White House wasn't nearly as difficult as it is now.
Simpler times, Tom.
Yeah.
I know you, for one, wish you could go back.
It's not.
You always talk about how you want to go back to the 50s when things were better, you said?
Tim, I just want to go back
Life was simpler, you always say.
I want to go back to the 50s so I can bet on old sporting events.
You and I both say that a lot, but if you woke up tomorrow in 1955, you wouldn't know who to bet on.
No, I always think about that.
You wouldn't know who to bet on until 1996.
Yeah, and even then, I wouldn't be able to get into real specific. I wouldn't be able to bet on scores and stuff.
Yeah,
I'd be like, I think
the
it's
Yankees won Game 4, but I'm not sure.
And I think it's this year. It might be next year. Can I put a bet down for both? You get thrown out of a bookie real quick if you start talking about, I think it's this year, but it might be next year. They're like, another time traveler, get him out of here. I forget what else I was going to say about Mars. Oh,
can I ask you this? Why don't they just throw a guy up there?
A lot of problems. And Mars and Musk and Bezos both want to get to Mars. They're like, we got to colonize Mars because, if Earth gets destroyed, then what's going to happen to the human race? And
somebody accidentally destroys Earth.
Sure, we could use our money to try and make sure that doesn't happen to Earth, but let's just send people to Mars instead. there's like very little evidence that people can actually survive on Mars for any even unsustained period of time, even, a couple of weeks or something. We're not sure. The reduced gravity, we've had astronauts up in space for years. What?
I just realized I regret not referring to Matt Damon as Matt Damien before. I thought that would have made us both chuckle a little bit if I said, like, if Matt Damien's up there. Maybe I'll go back and re-record that.
That seems like a good use of your time.
Is this a good, in general, is this a good use of our time, Tom?
Yeah, Tim, we're inspiring the next generation of scientists. One of the people listening to this podcast, Tim, might be the first person on Mars. Uh-oh. The first person to take their helmet off on Mars. After Arnold Schwarzenegger, but that was an accident. 38% gravity, we know existing in anything less than Earth's gravity for a sustained amount of time causes like insane problems within our bodies, because our bodies were just not, evolved in any way for the possibility of gravity not existing. Right. One of the problems is that on Earth, blood within the body stays 70%. So 70% of your blood stays below the heart. And in microgravity, that's not the case. And so astronauts typically show signs of chicken leg syndrome upon returning.
Simple. We all start walking on our hands.
No,
and also,
Tim, you don't understand.
What do you mean?
That wouldn't fix the problem.
Why? It would be...
then you'd have even less blood going to your legs.
No, you'd have more going to your legs.
No. The problem is that normally blood sits lower in our body, but if there's less gravity, the blood's floating all over the place inside our body. So if you're going to go on your hands, then even less blood's going to be in your legs. The problem is...
There's going to be more blood in your legs. There's going to be less in your head. That's fine.
What? If you're standing on your hands, then there's going to be more blood in your head.
No, it's not, because of the gravity, Tom. The gravity will lift it.
The gravity doesn't... There's still some gravity.
Yeah, I know. That's why you'll be able to stand on your hands and not float away.
Right, but that's not going to help avoid chicken leg syndrome. That's just going to make your chicken... That's going to make your chicken leg syndrome even worse.
You're just worried that if everybody starts walking on their hands, it takes away the height advantage from tall people, because all our heads will be pretty much in the same spot.
No, I have pretty long arms, too.
Your arms aren't that long. I've seen how long your arms are.
But then it will be even... No, if anything, Tim, it will be opposite, because if we're both on our hands, all of a sudden my head, to your perspective, is lower than yours.
Yeah. Ha-ha.
You'd be looking down on me.
Exactly.
And we both have chicken leg syndrome, so we'd both be in a lot of trouble.
You have chicken heart syndrome.
I'm a coward? Is that what you're trying to imply?
Yeah, exactly.
There's also the average temperatures on Mars, negative 125 degrees Fahrenheit to 23 degrees Fahrenheit. And a lot of radiation going on all the time, because no atmosphere to, remember when everybody was all worried about the hole in the ozone layer? Yeah. Mars doesn't even have an ozone layer.
The whole ozone layer is the hole. Why don't they make the whole layer out of the hole?
They did on Mars.
Like, I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we were like,
hold my beer. That's what Mars said.
Then we were like, well, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, because now we can't really stay there for that long, because the radiation will mutate our DNA and cause cancer.
It is really bonkers that these billionaires are like, but we can overcome all these problems on Mars and make it habitable. It's like, yeah, but we have such a head start here, and all of our stuff is here.
Right. Well, and even if they overcome all these problems, it's like, yeah, and then you'll be able to go live on Mars in essentially a bunch of like pop-up tents, because they're going to have to be inflatable habitats, because we can't, transport heavy shit. So there's going to be a bunch of pop-up tents. You're never going to be able to go outside. You're going to have, at least on average an 11-minute delay communicating with Earth. So you're never going to be able to like call home again. You're going to have to, record messages and send them back and forth. The internet, they would probably have like a cache version on a Martian satellite. So you'd be able to, access cache stuff that way. And also the physical problems you would start having from being in that low gravity would make it so that eventually you would never be able to go back to Earth, because when you would go back to Earth, it would just be like crushing gravity on you all the time. You would be so weak. But they're all gung-ho. They all want to go there. And some of the plans are like to get us there with no, like a one-way trip. Like you would, we'd have to figure out a way to manufacture fuel on Mars to make enough fuel to blast a rocket off. We can't send a rocket that's got enough fuel for a two-way trip.
Right.
So, yeah, it sounds like it would really suck shit. I think Musk's plan is that there would be like, eventually there'd be like 3 flights a day, each carrying 100 people. So 300 people a day going to Mars. And then, in 10 years, there'd be 1 million people living on Mars. It's like, I think you'd have a hard time finding 1 million people that want to go live on Mars. And he's like, we would make loans available so anybody would be able to afford it. It's like, so I'm going to take out a loan to go on a one-way trip to hell?
Yeah, and then spend the rest of your life in hell in debt to freaking Elon Musk. And like, how does Elon Musk
I'm breaking rocks on Mars?
Yeah, exactly. Intend on being repaid this loan when we're all living in the Martian hellscape.
Yeah, I know. I mean, honestly,
sign me. I mean, you're gonna sign up, right? What do you?
No,
I
would never. I have no interest in this. None. Like, I saw the video from Mars. That's really cool. I'd love to see more videos from Mars. I have no interest. I like seeing videos from the top of Mount Everest. I'm not going to go to the top of Mount Everest. I have no interest. Too difficult.
I have a confession to make about that video from Mars that I'll reveal after the plugs.
Okay. If you like the show, you can find out more at tcgt.com. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/complete guide. Follow us on Instagram at complete guide. You can follow us on Twitter on Instagram, TCGT, on Twitter at complete guide. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Tom Reynolds.
Follow me at your pal, Tim.
And if you want to support the show, check out our sponsors. Also check out patreon.com/complete guide for Books the Podcast. This week we are starting Sherlock Holmes. Maybe you heard of him. Famous detective, maybe the most famous detective, even more famous than Batman. And I'm reading 2 of the novels he wrote on patreon.com/complete guide.
And I would like to thank Lindsay Young. She's in the Discord, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Writes a
complete guide is the Discord.
Yes, full of great, nice people. And Lindsay writes a column in several newspapers in the Midwest about. It's a recipe column. Mm-hmm. She featured the Timbo in it this week.
Really, you're the signature sandwich of Tim.
It's sweeping the nation, thanks to wonderful folks like Lindsay. Check out her recipe blog. I think it's is recipe blog a thing that we say in 2021? There's a website with her stuff on it. It's spiceupkitchen.net. Check it out. That plug and $5,000 got her to write a.
Wow, that's it.
The piece about the Timbo, yeah.
Well, I'm sure you'll be seeing a return on that investment within the week.
Yeah.
Tim, what was the hot thing you were holding for afterwards?
I mean, it's not a hot thing. It's a confession. You know that tweet that went viral that was like, hey, stop what you're doing, and for 1 minute and 24 seconds, watch this video of Mars. And it was supposed to be like this dramatic, like, hey, everything is insignificant when you know, this will give you perspective. Uh-huh. And it was that video where it just kind of like started and just did a 360 rotation of all the rocks and stuff. And after 30 seconds, I got bored and I didn't watch. I couldn't even watch. I couldn't make it like a minute.
Yeah, I know for a while there were always these pictures going viral on like Twitter and Reddit and stuff that was like, this is the first time a Martian sunset has been captured on film. Like, doesn't this blow your mind? And people were pointing out like, no, the first time was like 1977. Like every rover's gotten pictures of sunsets. Like, it's really cool, but don't, post this is the first time humanity's ever seen this. I mean, and like the video was awesome. I loved watching it. It didn't profoundly change my life.
Yeah, I wish I was watching it and like a tear came to my eye, but I was like,
and it changed me. It made me somehow different than I am.
Yeah, I got Earth things to do, and even in a global pandemic where I can't really do anything, I can find better things.
Yeah.
Do you think if we were alive during the moon landing, the two of us would have just been like, big deal?
No, because shit was so boring back then. That was very exciting.
Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, no, please don't preempt the Ed Sullivan show.
Right. Well, I mean, look, it's very neat, but I don't know. We're used to seeing such crazy shit, big and small, on video nowadays that like nothing really surprises us. Same thing, like I loved listening to, they had a short clip of the Martian wind. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
They've got a couple of microphones. Well, first off, the first clip they didn't edit out like the sounds of the machine. So it's like, here it is, the first clip of the Martian wind.
Where you're like, I'm never going to move to Mars.
It sounds horrifying. And then like later in that clip, it's like, all right, and now we've edited out, the insane motors that are going all the time on this thing, which also made me think if there are any creatures on Mars, they've got to be like, what the fuck is this thing they sent? They're just because like, a lot, like I always think with UFOs, we'll end the show soon. With UFOs, I think if UFOs are aliens, the vast, vast, vast majority of these things have to be drones sent from other planets. They're not, full of aliens taking a joyride. It's like, no, they would send a little tiny thing to, do samples and stuff. And I'm just thinking about what if one of those things, what if one of these like crazy orbs people catch on video, what if it was just going the whole time? We would very quickly be like, all right, fuck aliens. They keep sending these things to us that just make the most horrifyingly annoying sounds you could ever imagine. We would find a way to send them a message real quick of like, stop sending those noisy things.
Oh, we'd send them a message, all right. And I'm cracking my knuckles.
Yeah, you would send a knuckle sandwich to the aliens?
Yeah, if they were, I mean, in all the movies,
I would prefer you send them a Timbo sandwich as a sign of peace.
They would prefer that. Man, that would do so much for intergalactic peace.
It'd be huge for you too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking for the glory, but yeah, I would be. I would go down in history.
They would put you on like Celebrity Big Brother or something for that, for sure.
A man can dream, Tom.
We'll see you next week.
That was a HeadGum podcast.